Good morning guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. Today is all about the cost of living in Calgary, Alberta in 2024. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Brittany Morgan. I lived in Calgary for about 9 years before moving abroad for just 1 year. I am now back. I am back in the rental market and I've got some thoughts about the cost of living in this city. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first category we're going to tackle is the biggest in pretty much anybody's budget, and that is housing. So we're gonna touch on rent, we're gonna touch on purchasing property and see what the increases have been like over the last few years. Rent has definitely increased significantly over the last couple of years. The last time I rented was back in 2019, 2020, and I was paying $1,200 or so for a nice 1-bedroom in a really great area. Now I am living in a similar area, not quite as nice. The unit itself, the building itself is not quite as nice, and I'm paying $1,750 per month. $1,750 for a 1-bedroom apartment in downtown Calgary. That is getting really close to Vancouver or Toronto numbers, and honestly, it's kind of scary. For the amount that I pay, I have parking included. I do not have laundry in the unit, but it is in the building. I have a dishwasher. I also have an animal that really does limit what types of places I can rent. So the pool I'm picking from is a lot smaller, but for the price, $1,750 a month, it's actually pretty rare to find something under $2,000 a month in the city of Calgary right now. The average cost for a 1-bedroom apartment to rent is $1,696. And for a 2-bedroom, it's coming in at $2,265 on average. So yes, the price of rent has gone up quite a bit in the city in the last year or two. Over COVID, it kind of bottomed out and then it's just been climbing steadily ever since. Over, I think, 90,000 people have moved to the city in the last year or so. So it kind of makes sense, there's a lot more demand and that's always going to drive up the prices. Now let's talk about home prices if you're looking to buy. The average cost for a detached home in Calgary sits at $823,000 right now. For a semi-detached home, it's $703,000. Townhomes are coming in at $474,000. And condos have seen also a very big increase and are coming in at an average of $349,000. Year over year, all of these types of homes are up over 10%. And it looks like it's starting to come down a little bit, but it's definitely not as affordable as it was a couple years ago. I still think it's quite a bit less expensive to buy here than Toronto or Vancouver. But again, the rents are getting pretty up there. So you're gonna have to really wanna move here. There's gotta be a lot of other things that are going to draw you to this place if you do wanna make the move. So now let's move into transportation. Of course, walking and cycling is free. That is what I mainly do. I do not have a vehicle at the moment. Calgary is pretty good for cycling lanes and walking pathways. The sidewalks are usually quite large and open and like in really good condition. There are bike lanes all throughout downtown and outside of downtown. You can pretty easily get around the city on a bike or walking, as well as public transit. So it really depends on if you're looking for a city that is friendly to that. I think if you're living in the city center, you'll find it's quite easy to get around this way. But if you're gonna live out in like the suburbs, you kind of do need a vehicle. Otherwise it can be very difficult to get around. For the Calgary Public Transit Network, it is $3.70 per fare. This includes the C train as well as buses. And I think you get like an hour, maybe half an hour or 45 minutes to transfer. So depending on where you're working and where you're living, this can be really excessively more in time to get there than driving, or it can be pretty close to the same. I will say about the C train and just the Calgary Transit Network in general, it does feel kind of unsafe here and there. I have been taking it from an area downtown that is just sort of riddled with a lot of people that are suffering through homelessness and mental illness and drug addictions and everything. So as a single woman, I don't feel particularly safe on Calgary public transit, but if you are going to work and back during rush hour, it's usually so busy that you're really not gonna feel unsafe, but I would try to avoid it on the off hours because it's just not really as safe as certain other cities feel. If you're gonna be coming and looking for a vehicle, or if you're bringing a vehicle, I think that that is a huge benefit, especially if you wanna go out to the mountains, or you need to go and do some bigger grocery shops, go to some different stores that are a little outside of the city center. I was actually recently looking through AutoTrader and Kijiji to find out how much used vehicles are going for right now. And it seems like it's quite a big struggle to find a vehicle that's under $5,000 that has like a reasonable amount of kilometers on it and that's in pretty decent condition. I think if you're looking for used, a budget of like 10 to 15,000 is gonna be more realistic if you want a vehicle that's going to last a little bit longer. I mean, you can always find beater vehicles under 5,000 that have a ton of kilometers, aren't in the best shape, maybe like a mechanic special type of car. But if you're looking for something reliable, I would budget a little bit more. And then of course you can always buy new, and that budget is up to whatever amount you want. But definitely in Alberta, having a vehicle that's going to get you through a winter means it's gonna be a little bit more expensive. You're gonna need to buy winter tires for sure. I don't think you necessarily need a vehicle in Calgary, but it is a huge help for getting around, especially if you're working somewhere that's a bit further away from where you're living. There's also a bus company called FlexiBus that I only recently found out about, but this bus network will take you to places like Banff and Canmore, Edmonton, Okotoks. There are actually a lot of destinations this will take you to for a pretty reasonable fare. The last time I was looking at this, it was around $20 each way to go to Banff, which I think is actually quite amazing and really worth it. So now let's move on to food and groceries. This is gonna be the second biggest budget item for most people, especially if you're feeding a family. I've been spending between $250 and $300 a month on food. This is quite low, I think. I was looking up an average just for Canada in general, and the average per person rings in at about $339 per person per month. So I'm not too far off that. And it might seem low to some of you, but keep in mind, I don't eat breakfast, I don't drink coffee, and I pretty much never eat out. I eat like little snacks here and there for lunch at work, and then otherwise I usually have like girl dinners. If you don't know what that is, I highly suggest you Google that, but if you are a woman, you probably know sometimes we have dinners that are like a bowl of popcorn or some like chips and dip or something like super small because we're just like not that hungry. So I don't eat a whole lot. I do love food, and I don't like restrict myself in eating in any way, but I do tend to buy pretty much everything, like 95% and above of what I buy is on sale. I will meal plan around whatever is on sale. I have kind of like go-to recipes for things depending on what's on sale. So of course, if you want to save money, make sure you are buying things on sale, planning your meals around that, and then getting a grocery store loyalty card that builds points so that you can actually get something back for all the money that you're spending at the grocery store. I've definitely noticed that food prices have gone way up since I left Canada about a year and a bit ago. And particularly things like cheese, milk, and eggs, all the basics are not double, but probably 20 to 30% more expensive, even when they are on sale. So that is something to note. The pricing in Canada has really gone up for groceries. And I know there's like a whole boycott of Loblaws and the Loblaws group for basically price gouging the entire country, which is not cool. I think what I'm gonna be doing in the summer months here is going to local farmers markets and trying to get fresher produce from local farmers. It might be a little more expensive or around the same price, but honestly, looking at the price in the grocery store, it's sometimes cheaper now to go to the farmers market in Canada, which to me is surprising because I find that usually the farmers markets are a little more. So this is something I'm going to be testing over the next few months. If you guys want an update on that, or you want to come along with me to some of these markets to see what the pricing is like, leave me a comment down below and I will definitely do that because I love a good farmer's market. Next, let's go through things like phone plans and internet and utilities. So I pay $35 Canadian a month on Koodo's network. I've been with Koodo for a really long time. I really love their services. I think they have some of the best deals in Canada. I get 40 gigs a month in data for this, and I will never ever use that much data because I have Wi-Fi at home. But it is a really good plan. You have Canada-wide free calling. I also had a free perk with this like sign-up bonus with them, and I get free international texting. So that's another perk. I'm absolutely loving their services, always have. Not affiliated with them whatsoever, but if you're looking for a really good and reliable phone plan, phone network at a good price, I highly recommend Koodo. For internet, we're currently paying around $45 to $50 Canadian per month for an unlimited plan at a pretty high speed, probably the highest or maybe the second highest speed, which is important for things like YouTube or streaming. The company that I am with is called Tech Savvy. Network coverage and like the speed and everything, the reliability is all really good. I have been noticing a little bit of buffering in recent weeks, but honestly, for the price, I think it's well worth it to have unlimited internet. That price is promotional, so that $45, $50 a month is going to go up to, I think, $75 to $80 in a year. So obviously you get that deal amount for a really long time. But if you're budgeting and looking at different options, I think between $50 and $80 a month is a good benchmark. Now moving on to electricity, I am budgeting around $50 a month for electricity for a small 1-bedroom. I do not work from home, so I'm not home really at all during the day. I'm not using that electricity. And I know that the rates have gone up in Calgary since I last lived here. Haven't actually gotten my first electricity bill yet, but I am expecting around $50. I will let you guys know if it's way more than that, but that is typical. After doing a bit of research online, it seems like $50 for a 1-bedroom is pretty standard. And the company that I've always used for electricity in Calgary is Enmax. You can just go sign up on their website and go through their different options. And because I live in a condo, I don't pay for any other utilities, but I would budget between $150 and $250 a month if you're going to be paying for those extra utilities, things like water usage, garbage, recycling, gas, etc. So it depends if you're going to be buying a house or renting a house. Your utility expenses are going to be quite a bit more, and your electricity rates are going to be quite a bit higher because obviously you're in a much bigger space. Now let's move into entertainment. So entertainment has obviously a wide range of how much you can spend, but I wanted to touch on a few different items, things that I personally do, or tips that I can pass on to help save you money if you're gonna be going out. Going out for movies. So you can go to one of the big box cinemas, a Cineplex or Landmark cinemas, and spend probably $20, $30, $40 per person. I have now decided that I would rather be giving my money to some of these smaller theaters in the city. So the Plaza Theater in Kensington is one really great spot. Their tickets are usually around $10 per person, which is amazing. They have good snacks and drinks and everything. And there's also a few other small theaters, including the Globe Cinema. I haven't been there yet, but I'm gonna be going, and I think the pricing is around the same. So quite a bit less expensive than the big box theaters, and you're actually supporting a local business. On to beer. Beer is a very big part of my life. I work at a brewery. I love beer. I love craft beer. So if you're interested in that as well, I would say budgeting between $5 and $8 per pint. This is very important. If you don't know this, if you're not from Canada, or maybe you are from Canada and you don't know this, but if a restaurant calls a thing of beer a pint, it has to by law be 20 ounces. It cannot be any less than that. So you'll find a lot of bars, especially in Calgary, do not say that it is a pint. So if you're not sure if the menu does not say the size of the beer, if you ask for a pint, they're just gonna give you the largest size that they have, which is typically around 16 ounces. But that price, the $5 to $8, sometimes you're getting a beer that's 16 ounces over 20 ounces. So it doesn't hurt to ask if it's not on the menu. And of course, there's always happy hour pricing on beers. And typically, if you're going to a craft brewery or a smaller restaurant that serves craft beer, you can get their house beer for $5. But I have seen beer go up to $12 and $13 per Canadian pint per 20 ounces. So it just really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for just a basic lager, most places will have a house beer, and that'll be the cheapest option. Or if you want something fancy or imported or something that is maybe a special seasonal beer, you can expect to pay a little more. For takeaway, if you're gonna go and pick up some pizza or some dinner to take home with you, I would budget between $20 and $40 per person. Of course, it depends on your appetite and how much you like to eat. But if you're going out for pizza, if you're gonna get a medium or large pizza, I would budget around $20 for that alone. If you're going out somewhere for some sushi or something like that, I think $20 to $40 a person is a really good budget. And of course, again, you can shop the deals. Most places will have a walk-in special if you're gonna go pick it up. If you wanna have a full meal per person, I'd say a minimum $15 to $20. For dining out, this can vary obviously from the low end of the budget to the high end of the budget. It totally depends on what you like. And of course, if you're gonna be eating out, if you're not getting alcohol, it's gonna be a lot cheaper. I always find when I go to eat out, if I do have a drink or two, it almost doubles the price of the bill. And again, I highly recommend going out for the happy hour or specials nights that most of the restaurants do. Just follow them on Instagram or go to their website to see what they have going on. A lot of places will have like daily deals, daily specials, where they'll maybe have like a burger or a sandwich on for like $10 or $15 along with a beer. And then of course there's things like wings nights and happy hour, which most places have twice per day and not on the weekend, so it's usually during the weekday. I would personally budget around $30 per person if you're just gonna have like one beer. You can budget a little bit less than that if you're not gonna be consuming alcohol. And of course you can go out for like a really nice fancy meal, 80 to, you know, hundreds of dollars per person. If you're gonna go out for like a decent, I'd say like mid-range level meal, I think like $30 to $40 per person is a good budget. And I do have to mention tipping here, specifically if you're not from Canada. Tipping culture in Canada and specifically in Calgary has kind of gotten out of control. So most of the menu prices have increased with inflation, and a lot of these restaurants are now expecting you to tip a minimum of 18% on top of that increase that is already happening. And a lot of these machines will just prompt you for like 18, 20, or 22%. And that is on the after-tax amount of the bill. So if you want to save a little bit of money and also not buy into this horrible tipping culture that Canada has, I would suggest downloading some kind of app on your phone, like a tip calculator, so you can do the tip before taxes, because you should not be tipping on the taxed amount and tipping an appropriate amount. 15% has always been the benchmark for decent, good service, and anything above and beyond that, you can tip to whatever you would like to tip. Personally, if I have amazing service, I'll tip like 18 to 20%, but now you're getting like very mediocre to poor service and are expected to pay 18% in a tip. I absolutely hate tipping culture. That is one of the huge downsides of living in this country, living in Canada, but I thought that I would just mention it since we're talking about restaurants. My overall thoughts, Calgary's cost of living has pretty well like skyrocketed since I last lived here, specifically housing and rent. In saying that though, Canada's cost of living and pretty much cost of living in every country in the world has gone up pretty significantly after our whole COVID thing that went on. So it's not specifically something that's going on in Canada, though I do believe the food pricing specifically is much higher in Canada than most other countries. Calgary is a rapidly growing city. We've seen a population increase over the last year and a bit of 96,000 people to the city alone. Canada also, I think, had a population increase of like over 1 million in the last year. So that is insane. And that is obviously contributing to all of these increased prices. Calgary is also in the process of building a ton of infrastructure. There's going to be a new train line coming in a little bit. We're going to be getting a new hockey arena. There's condos going up absolutely everywhere. The city of Calgary just recently rezoned pretty much the entire city so that these huge condo buildings can now be built. There's lots of luxury condos going in. I actually saw a building not that long ago saying that their condo units are starting at $1 million. Which is absurd. A lot of people are not happy about this rezoning thing, but despite that, Calgary is building a ton of housing, a ton of condos. It kind of does feel like the city is getting to capacity. It feels a little crowded in places. The traffic is not great, even though I personally don't drive. I have heard that it is just kind of getting out of control because there's so many people living here now. I do think that Calgary is an amazing city to live in, but not as attractive as it used to be. It used to be a lot more affordable to live here, and you used to make a good amount of money to compensate for the move and for the winters here. However, there are definitely downsides, which I might actually make an entire video about the downsides of living here. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comments below. I'm still super happy to call Calgary home. I absolutely love this city. I think it is incredible. I think it's an incredible place to live, and I'm actually excited about the growth. I think growth and immigration make a city so much more interesting and more fun. So I'm really happy about a lot of it. I'm just hoping that the city can actually plan properly and make sure they are ready for the growth. Thank you so much for watching this video. Leave me a comment down below about your thoughts on living in Calgary, or if you have any questions and you're thinking about moving here, definitely leave them in the comment section. And I'll see you guys really soon in the next video. Bye.